Hijab, Islamic veil. The Islamic modest dress. Benefits of modest dress. Philosophic and social reasons for dressing modestly. Rules and laws involving appropriate gender interaction. Author Ayatollah Murtada Mutahhari. Publisher Darus Siqaf, Qom, Islamic Republic of Iran. Introduction. The word hijab, modest dress. We believe in a particular philosophy in Islam for women's hijab or modest dress, which forms our intellectual point of view. And in regards to analysis, it can be called the basis for the Islamic modest dress. Before we begin our discussion, it is necessary to look at the meaning of the word hijab, which is used in our age to refer to a woman's covering. This word gives the sense of covering because it refers to a veil or a means of covering. Perhaps it can be said that because of the origin of the word, not every covering is hijab. That covering which is referred to as a hijab is that which appears behind a curtain. The Holy Quran describes the setting of the sun in the story of Prophet Sulaiman. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Until the sun was covered bil hijab and time for the afternoon ritual prayer was over. Chapter 38, verse 32. The diaphragm separating the heart from the stomach is also called hijab. In the advice given by Imam Ali alayhi salam to Malik al-Ashtar, he states, "Prolong not your seclusion, hijab, from your subjects. For a ruler's seclusion from his subjects is a kind of constraint and results in a lack of knowledge of affairs. Seclusion from them cuts rulers off from the knowledge of that from which they have been secluded." Ibn Khaldun says in the Muqaddimah, governments do not consider a separation to exist between themselves and the people at the beginning of their formation, but little by little the separation and distance between the ruler and the people grows, and finally it causes unpleasant results. Ibn Khaldun used the word hijab in the sense of meaning quote-unquote curtain and separation and not covering. The use of the word satr in the sense of covering was used instead of hijab, especially by the religious jurisprudence. The religious jurisprudence, whether in the section on the ritual prayers or in the section on marriage, refer to this issue and use the word satr and not hijab. It would have been best if the word had not been changed and we had continued to use the word covering or satr, because, as we have said, The prevalent meaning of the word hijab is veil. If it is to be used in the sense of covering, it gives the idea of a woman being placed behind a curtain. This very thing has caused a great number of people to think that Islam has wanted women to always remain behind a curtain, to be imprisoned in the house and not to leave it. The duty for covering, which has been established for women in Islam, does not necessarily mean that they should not leave their homes. It is not the intention of Islam to imprison women. We may find such ideas in the ancient pre-Islamic past of some countries like Iran or India, but no such thing exists in Islam. The philosophy behind the hijab for women in Islam is that she should cover her body in her associations with men whom she is not related to according to the divine law, non-mahram, and that she does not flaunt and display herself. The verses of the Holy Quran which refer to this issue affirms this, and the ethics of the religious jurisprudence confirm it. We will refer to the extent of this covering by using the Quran and the Sunnah as sources. The relevant verses do not refer to the word hijab. Verses which refer to this issue, whether in Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, or Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter 33, have mentioned the extent of the covering and contacts between men and women without using the word hijab. The verse in which the word hijab is used refers to the wives of the Holy Prophet of Islam. We know that in the Holy Quran there are special commands about the Prophet's wives. The first verse addressed to them begins, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. O wives of the Prophet, you are not as other women. Chapter 33, verse 32. Islam held the special relationship of the wives of the Prophet in such a great esteem that they were to remain at home for basically political and social reasons during the lifetime of the Holy Prophet and after his death. The Holy Quran says directly to the wives of the Prophet, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Remain in your houses. Chapter 33, verse 33. Islam desired that the honor and respect of these mothers of the believers, who were held in great respect by the Muslims, not be misused, and that they do not become a political and social tool for selfish and ambitious men. I think that the reason why the wives of the Prophet were forbidden to marry after the Prophet's death was for this very reason. That is, a husband after the Holy Prophet might misuse the dignity and respect of his wife. Therefore, if commands are more emphatic and severe in regards to the wives of the Prophet, it is because of this. At any rate, the verse in which the word hijab is used is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And when you ask his wives for any object, ask them from behind a curtain, hijab. Chapter 33, verse 53. According to history and Islamic tradition, whenever you see the verse of hijab referred to, for instance, such and such was the case before the revelation of the verse of hijab, or such and such was the case after the revelation of the verse of hijab, it refers to this verse which relates to the wives of the Prophet and not the verses of Surah An-Nur which states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Say to the believing men that they cast down their glance and guard their private parts. That is purer for them. Surely God is aware of what they do. And say to the believing women that they cast down their glance. Chapter 24, verse 31. Or the verse of Surah Al-Ahzab which states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. O Prophet, say to thy wives and daughters and the believing women that they draw their outer garments, jilbab, close to them, so it is more likely that they will be known and not hurt. God is all forgiving, all compassionate. Chapter 33, verse 59. But there is a question as to why, in the recent era, the current expression of the religious jurisprudence, that is, satr, did not become prevalent instead of hijab. The reason is unknown to me. Perhaps they mistook the Islamic hijab for the hijab which is traditional in other countries. We will give further explanation about this later. The real visage of the modest dress. The fact is that the covering, or its new expression, hijab, is not concerned with whether or not it is good for a woman to appear in society covered or uncovered. The point is whether or not a woman and a man's need of her should be limitless, free association, or not. Should a man have the right to satisfy his needs with every woman and in every place short of committing adultery? Islam, which looks at the spirit of the problem, answers, no. Men are only allowed to satisfy their sexual desires with their legal wives within a marital situation based upon the laws of marriage, which establish a series of heavy commitments. It is forbidden for men to have any physical relations with women they are not related to by marriage. It is true that the question externally appears to be, what should a woman do? Must she leave her home covered or uncovered? That is, the person about whom the question is raised is a woman, and the question is often expressed in very heart-rendering tones. Is it better for a woman to be free or condemned and imprisoned in the modest dress? But But something else lies at the root of the question. That is, should men be free to take sexual benefit from women in any way they choose, short of committing adultery, or not? That is, the one who benefits here is a man and not a woman, or at least a man benefits more than a woman does. As Will Durant has said, the miniskirt is a blessing for everyone in the world except clothes merchants. So the depth of the question is whether or not the seeking of sexual pleasure should be limited to the family environment and legal wives, or is the freedom of seeking sexual fulfillment something that should be satisfied in society at large? Islam defends the first theory. According to Islamic precepts, limiting sexual desires to the family environment and legal wives helps to maintain the mental health of the society. It strengthens the relationships between the members of the family and fosters the development of a perfect harmony between a husband and wife. As far as society is concerned, it keeps and preserves energies to be then used for social activities, and it causes a woman to attain a higher position in the eyes of a man. The philosophy of the Islamic covering depends on several things. Some of them are psychological, and some relate to the home and the family. Others have sociological roots, and some of them relate to raising the dignity of a woman and preventing her debasement. The modest dress in Islam is rooted in a more general and basic issue. That is, Islamic precepts aim at limiting all kinds of sexual enjoyment to the family and the marital environment within the bounds of marriage, so that society is only a place for work and activity. It is opposite of the Western system of the present era, which mixes work with sexual enjoyment. Islam separates these two environments completely.